everybody. Happy Monday. Craig is having the Mondayest of all Mondays ever. Petey and I, we're super well rested here today, and we're super excited to be joined by a special guest today. Thank you so much for tuning in to the PHNX Coyotes podcast, brought to you by the one and only DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a 5-star review. Like we said, we're very excited to be joined by a special guest today for his second appearance on the PHNX Coyotes podcast. That's TNT Hockey analyst and former Arizona Coyotes coach and player, Rick Tocchet. Rick, thank you so much for joining the show.
Yeah, it's great being on. I try to watch a lot of Coyote games, but when I don't, I tune into you guys, and I don't even have to watch. I don't even have to watch the game. You guys give a great analysis of the game, so you guys do a hell of a job.
Wow, thank you so much.
And our ratings just jumped right now. Like Rick Tocchet's on. There go the ratings. Thanks, Talk.
By the way, I need to say this about Leah Merrill today. So I didn't show up to the studio today, and I think that was a surprise to my co-hosts. I had no sleep last night. It was a late arrival, and I'm going to have trouble forming sentences today, Talk, so I'll let you know. We also had some audio issues. Petey is running around doing what Petey does, and Leah's just sitting there cool as a cucumber. This is why we have Leah Merrill running the
Yeah, big surprise. Petey panics a little bit. Big surprise.
Oh, man. Oh, well, Craig, I'll let you start out here.
All right, Talk. We have already talked a lot about the TNT gig. I think that was a big part of our conversation last time, but I just wanted to check in on that. Still enjoying that gig, and how has it evolved, I guess, as you've grown more comfortable in your role?
Yeah, it's a blast. I think I told you guys, it's a first-class operation, the way they do things. They don't want us to be too scripted. They want things organically said. Sometimes they surprise you on some of the stuff that they do. They want your reaction. Now we're starting to get some guests once, if Wayne's not or Biz is not on. We're actually going to have Keith Yandel on Wednesday night. He's going to be a guest, Keith Yandel. So we just had a call this morning with him, and he's great. He's going to have some good stories for us. Lundqvist was on. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun still doing the gig. And, like I said, you get to watch it nationally, and you don't have skin in the game.
Yeah. And I know a lot of your job, obviously, is paying attention to what's happening around the NHL. So we'll just launch right into us, and I'll let Petey and Leah jump in as well. When you look at the NHL season, and I know we're only a dozen or so games into it, what are the biggest surprises in a good way or bad way in your mind of this young NHL season?
Yeah, the guy's going to be crap on the panel because I keep talking about it. To me, it's the blown leads. I mean, analytically, and Petey, you know this stuff. I think it's like 18 or 19% of teams have come back after being down 2 goals. That's a big number. Years ago, I bet you that number was 7-8%. So, there's we can dive into a lot of reasons why. A lot more power plays. It seems like everybody wants to score. Guys want their points. I hate to tell you, and it just seems you're never out of it, which is great. It makes it exciting for the fans, but it just seems like the 2-goal lead. Small sample size, but some teams have surprised me. I mean, look at Boston, and not so much surprised me. I thought they had a couple of key injuries early in the season. I thought was going to hurt them, but it didn't. Jim Montgomery going in there has done a great job, and that team's just been rolling through. Listen, Colorado's starting to flex their muscles again the last couple of weeks. There's some teams like St. Louis and Edmonton haven't played. They're around 500. I mean, St. Louis is way under 500. That surprised me. In Vegas, I mean, look at Vegas. I mean, they seem to have the identity they had 4 or 5 years ago. They're more slotted. It's a more balanced up and down lineup, and the goaltending has been good for them.
Well, you look at this, talking. You brought up something interesting when you said the 2-goal lead thing, and I look at that. I do think today's NHL is about offense and skill, especially from the back end where you got defenders that are trying to score. And I know when you coached, defense was important and defending was important. And I sit and look at today's game and go, gosh, like I think some of that is starting to slip away from some teams, the ability to defend. And I wonder, when you're sitting there watching games at TNT and you're watching them on TV, do you put your coaching hat on and go, where the hell is that guy going, or what are they doing, or what is that system? Do you find yourself slipping back into your old coaching style?
Yeah, and I don't want to be that old guy that, defense, but just even talk to some of coaches like Cooper and Berube and Sullivan. It to me, it's a calculation. It's high risk, high reward. Like you're up 2-0. I'm not saying do the old Jacques Lemaire 1-4 and stay back and trap.
Yeah.
I want to press. I just think your calculations have to be a little bit smarter. I was watching Vancouver. They're up 2-0 against Toronto, and they're killing a penalty, and a couple of guys just run out of position for no reason, and you leave one of the greatest goal scorers in the game, Austin Matthews, in the slot, and he scores a goal. Like, it's just the calculations that drive me nuts. It's not the right time to go at that time. We talk about protect the house in the middle of the ice and live for another shift. That doesn't mean you don't go for it. That doesn't mean you're not trying to, get 3-on-2s and D to stop pinching. I'm just a calculation guy, and if it's a high risk play, don't do it, especially when you're up 2-0.
Do you think the game's changed? Do you think the game's changed even in the short 2 or 3 years since you left Arizona?
It's definitely offense and skill. The NHL wants it. It preaches it.
Whoa. Where did everybody go? Not sure what's going on. We just lost our guests.
Did we lose Craig too?
Yeah, we lost them both. We'll work on getting them back. So sorry about that. Not sure what's going on there. Technical issues.
Well, it's funny though, but they're going to jump back in quick. Hopefully, talk to us too. But it is like you talk about what the league has done and what they're changing, and you see how they're even marketing their stars like McDavid and Matthews. It is all about the one-on-one skill, and it is about offense. And we talked about defense. You're looking at Fox. You're looking at McCarr. That's what defense is today.
Yeah,
it's not the big bruising guy cross-checking you in front of the net.
Yeah.
So the game definitely has changed. And we'll welcome Rick Tocchet back in. That was a technical issue. Not you, Tocchet.
Everybody just
Everything dropped.
Disappeared
Wasn't
for
you.
some reason.
It's a Monday.
Well, Petey always gives me crap when it comes to technical stuff, so that's not my fault.
That is not your fault.
That was actually
100% not your fault. So we'll
I had to
clear
call
that
back
up.
in too, Rick. They just cut us all off.
It was Craig's fault somehow.
Yeah, we'll blame Craig on a Monday.
Okay.
No,
somebody didn't like what I said about defense, I think.
Yeah.
No, but that's right. The game's changed, Toc. You were talking about they're marketing the young stars. It's McDavid. It's Matthews. It's Zegras. I mean, that's what the league is going for. They want that scoring. And you know what? It makes every game exciting because no game's over till it's over.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. Like, I love the skill. I mean, you love to see, like that Zegras move together. It's fascinating. It's great. But, the object's to win the game. And like I said, you got to be calculated. You just got to make sure that you make the right decisions at the right time. And I see teams press sometimes when it's not there. Live for another shift, especially when you're up 2-0. The other team's going to press, so you want to be in a situation where you make the right decisions.
Toc, I want to ask you about the Arizona Coyotes. They've had somewhat of a surprising start, definitely night and day from their start last season. They're currently 6-8-1, 6th in the Central. What are your thoughts on the Arizona Coyotes so far, if you've had the chance to catch any games?
Yeah, I'm really impressed. I think Andre Tournier has done a really nice job. Everybody knows what they're trying to do, and it sucks for the fact rebuild, lose. And players don't want to hear that, but I think the coach and the players have a great connection. They play a hard game. They're hard to play against, and they work hard. So many times sometimes this year and even last year they're not ready for whatever reason. They're down 3-0, but they never give up. That's what I like, and I think before the last couple of games, losing that little mini streak there, guys are slotted. And he's not afraid to put guys, who's maybe really a fourth line player up on the first line and play him important minutes down the stretch.
Are you going to make it out to Mullet Arena at any point this season?
Yeah, I got to get back to Arizona here in the next couple of months. But yeah, I think just from talking to you guys and Petey off the air, like exciting in the arena, watch a game. The crowd's over. I always loved back in the day when I played in the Boston Garden or the Chicago Stadium. The crowd is on top of you. It's hard to explain. Like you feel like you're in a bandbox where the game is just fast, and the noise just gets you amped up. So I'm anxious to see that setting.
So, Toc, I was in New York with the Coyotes last week. Got a chance to tour the NHL's office, and I ran into Steve Mayer, of course, who's the director of content, the guy who helps plan major events for the NHL. And he told us that the Valley it's fair to expect the Valley to host an outdoor game within the next 5 years. So I want to get your thoughts on this. You've lived here. Where do you think it should be? What do you think of that whole possibility?
I think it's unbelievable. I would. I wish I had a vote because I would say it would be an incredible venue. Um, Phoenix and Arizona, they know how to. Just the whole community knows how to put a party and an atmosphere together. You know, the waste management, the Super Bowls. Just there's so many events that come through there. Why not hockey? I think the community deserves it. It would be a lot. It's just be positive. Like, you're tired of hearing the negativity when it comes to Arizona hockey, and there's too many positives not to have it there. It would be great. I mean, it would be something that I think it would be welcome around the league. Listen, Arizona, like you live there, everyone wants to live in Arizona. So why not, have a hockey venue there? It'd be incredible.
Yeah. Where would you put it? Do you have any preference?
Well, can you, if you put it in the Glendale where the Cardinals play, can you open that thing up? That might be great. I don't know. Is that feasible to open it up? What's the stadium? I mean, I'm gone there a year. I can't even think of the stadium.
State Farm Stadium.
State Farm.
Yeah,
like,
what about ASU talk with the mountains in the background, right in the middle of Tempe's campus? Yeah,
that backdrop would
moonlight
be
mountains.
Right. Yes.
I'm in.
Yes, that would be incredible. Yeah, it would.
And then right to Old Town right after.
There you go. That's it.
No.
Get your 2 points and go celebrate with the team.
Exactly.
Rick, I can't remember. Have you ever been a part of an outdoor game in any capacity?
Yeah, I was coaching with Pittsburgh. We played the Flyers in Heinz Field where the Steelers played, and I tell the story the other day. We were talking because we're going to do the outdoor class, the Winter Classic in Boston this year, in Fenway. So TNT's covering that one. I'm sorry, Warner Brother Discovery. It's a new company now.
Work.
I know they're paying my check, but anyways, I remember, they give us like the old fashioned jackets. You still wear a suit and tie or whatever behind the bench, but I remember it was freezing. I wore my Ferragamos, black shoes, and the dumbest thing I've ever and I'm an assistant coach. Like, wear boots. Nobody cares. The camera's not on my feet. And I froze the whole game.
Before we go on,
that won't happen again.
Before we go on the Winter Classic talk, that brought up a good point here: is coaches' fashion. No, and I'm being serious here, because if you look at what the NBA has done with what coaches wear on the bench now, they've shifted away from suits, much more comfortable, team appropriate attire. Football did it years and years and years ago. They wear the team logoed stuff. What the hell happened to hockey? Like, why is it when you're freezing cold on a bench in the ice, you're standing on a bench where players are spitting and shooting water bottles? Why are coaches in the NHL not more comfortable? I will give you credit for the bubble. When behind the bench in the bubble, the Arizona Coyotes coaching staff did not wear suits. And I thought you were finally starting to move the needle the other way. Do you have any insight on why we can't make that change?
I would love to have the fashion, like you said, about where you don't have to wear the suit. I know Coop went on the other day and said about he's a traditionalist and he wants to wear the suit and tie. I'm not so much a traditionalist. I want to be comfortable. So I want guys to be comfortable. Now, I'm not saying wear sweatpants.
No.
But a nice, look at Torts. He wears that sweater behind the bench now.
Yeah.
And, because you know what? He says, I'm cold, so I'm going to wear a sweater. He doesn't care if you can't see his tie, and I don't blame the guy. So you want to be comfortable because you want to make good decisions. And if you're cold, sometimes you make bad decisions.
But you've been on the bench, and I've seen you on the bench come into the head equipment manager, Stan Wilson. Stan, I need a long sleeve shirt under my suit. And that happened in a lot of rinks. It's cold out there.
It's cold. And like I said, I'd have to wear that long sleeve that the players wear right under your suit. And I got to tell you, I'd vote for it. And I think some coaches would. But some guys they're traditionalists, like Coop said. He's a big traditionalist who wants to wear the suit and tie.
How far could we go with this? I mean, would it be like Lululemon? It'd still be fashionable, or could we go like all full on Bill Belichick and just wear the hoodies?
No, can't do the hoodies.
Well, look at the players coming in. That's a big fashion thing now. They have the camera and who's wearing what. Why can't the coaches do that? What's this coach? What's this coach wearing tonight?
I love it. I'm here for it.
Talk. You and I both worked with some guys that probably don't want that camera in the hallway. Some of those suits, oh boy, howdy. There's some bad suits. Some guys need to get them a tailor that get them to fit them. I know that for sure.
Yeah, you should bring back those old tweed jackets back in the day.
Yeah, well, I wore that back in '84. Yeah, that was still good. Yeah, buddy.
With the elbow patches.
The elbow patches, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Let's move on to the Coyotes a little bit more here.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about this. Jakob Chychrun's going to be back in the lineup. I reported this morning. He's going to be back on the 21st when they play Nashville in Nashville. With all this, having coached him, what do you make of this situation, Talk? Are you surprised it has reached this point? Are the Coyotes asking too much for him? And can Chick ever be that player that we saw in 2020, 2021 again?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of moving parts. Do I think the Coyotes were asking for too much? Yeah, I do. I think the last year, I know a couple of people around the league, some GMs, and I know the price was high. Saying that, I don't blame him. You always want to, you have a player of his caliber who's shown, a couple of years ago. I mean, he was very dominant. What did he score that year? Did he score 18 goals that year? I mean, that's a big number for a defenseman and I think it was 50-something games. So, Chick has a lot of value, but damaged goods, right? He's been hurt quite a bit. Now it's about him trying to just get back into the lineup, playing good hockey. Everything will sort out then. It's not a lot of he said, she said type of thing right now, like whose fault. It doesn't matter. Chick's got to get, and I think, Petey, you talked about that, got to get in the lineup. He's got to start playing 20 minutes, 20-plus minutes a game, PK, penalty kill, and, just show that force out there that, if a team wants to trade for him, they're going to get a good product.
Yeah. Well, Coach, we're going to get back home to Vegas now. So we're watching the Vegas Golden Knights. And I'll be the first guy to say I thought they were going to have goaltending troubles, and I thought the Vegas Golden Knights were going to struggle out of the gate. I thought Calgary and Edmonton were going to be the premier teams in the Pacific, but that's not what's happening. Vegas has started off extremely well, one of the top teams in the Western Conference. One, what's the buzz like in Vegas? Do you notice the difference? Do you see the Knights logo around town? And two, why the success?
Yeah, we had a big talk about at the beginning of the year, what teams are on the bubble and what weren't. And I keep bugging my panel. I said Vegas was going to be a top team this year again. You got to look at their personnel. Yeah, Petey, the goaltending wasn't a question mark. I get that. But their defense from 1 to 6, 1 to 7, as good as in the league. You got, when you rolled Haig and Whitecloud as your 5-6, those guys, that's a good pair, a very good pair. I think they're slotted better now, they're not, they took a lot of negativity. They went after every shiny new toy, any free agent. They got rid of Fleury. So there's a lot of negativity here in Nevada with Vegas. They're back. They're quietly kind of getting their identity back. The fans, it's always sold out. Everybody goes, I have a lot of friends here. They all have season tickets to the Knights game. They don't know a lot about hockey, but they love going to the game. They think the atmosphere is great. So it's a great story. A guy like Phil Kessel, he's on a team, doesn't play now. He's playing, what is he playing now? 10, 12, 13 minutes. But I like the fact that he's a complimentary player on that team. He's not the go-to guy. And some games, he might not play a lot, but then some games he'll score. Like in Buffalo, he scored the other night to get them going again. So they're kind of slotted well this year.
I want to ask you more about Phil Kessel because you had a great relationship with him in Pittsburgh and then again in Arizona. Do you keep in touch with him? And, what do you think about this move to Vegas for him at this point in his career?
Yeah, I think it's a good move. Like I said, I think at this stage, he's not the guy. He's a complimentary guy. And this is a good team for him to be around. It's a very good team. Phil doesn't, he might be a couple of games, you don't see him around, don't see him much on the ice. And then the next game he'll score 2 goals or he'll do something to win. It's the perfect team to insulate him. I talked to him a while ago when he broke the record, but I've left him alone. This, in the hockey season, it's one of those things where you're very busy. So, I'm happy that he's on that team. They get in a solid position in the playoffs. Maybe he can win you a game here and there, which he has the ability to do sometimes.
You mentioned some of the teams that are struggling early in this season: St. Louis, Anaheim, Vancouver, among those. First off, want to get your thoughts on what might be at play there. I know you're close with Chief in St. Louis. Any thoughts on what's happening with those teams?
Yeah, I think they went through a stretch with a lot of turnovers, a lot of turnovers. They got a lot of young guys that have kind of taken over. Thomas and Cairo, Cairo was an all-star last year, so they've kind of taken over. And then you got guys like, O'Reilly, who's kind of older now, but, he hasn't had great success at the start of the year. I think he's had 1 or 2 goals. I think there's a transition, and I think they're trying to find a transition of, do the young guys take over the leadership and do the veteran guys take a back seat? I don't think Bennington's been that great. I mean, letting Husso go. Now the safety, that safety net is not there.
Mm.
Uh-oh.
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 We
you
got
lose me this time.
No,
No,
you're
we
still
didn't
here,
lose you this
Craig.
time.
I promise you're still here.
Let's not talk that time. There he is.
You might have been getting a phone call. Sometimes that
Oh.
happens.
Sorry. I was saying about, just a transition of them trying the young guys and the older guys with St. Louis. You look at Edmonton. They're a 500 team. I thought they would be a little bit better. I think their bottom 6 has not been that good for them. I don't think they've been well. Vancouver is a funny team. They got some high-end talent. Defensively, they've given up a lot of 2-goal leads. Demko hasn't been as good. Anaheim, a little surprised how bad they've been this year. I thought they'd be a little bit better, but to me, defensively, they give up way too many grade A chances. You watch their game, and it's the other team gets a lot of chances.
Rick, you know how this business works. With teams struggling early, especially teams that have expectations, which coaches should be worried right now?
Yeah, it's still early, Craig. You look at the expectations. Like I know, I like DJ Smith, but in Ottawa, and they got a win the other day. But they have everybody probably. I'm sure you guys had a surprise team that might jump up the ladder. Yeah. Might get another 15, 20 points. Play more important games down in April. They lost 6, 7 in a row. They haven't been off the start. You look at Vancouver, teams like that where you're looking for some kind of traction. But it's still early. I don't think you can blame the coaches all the time. I think it's a lot of different things. Sometimes, listen, the leadership group has to help the head coach out. I'm a big leadership group guy. If you don't have a good leadership group, it's hard to be a good coach. You look at guys like John Cooper, Bednar. I mean, those guys got rock solid players, but they also got rock solid leaderships that help out and can, when the boat gets a little rocky, those guys can sort out the room.
There are a lot of veteran coaches sitting out there, however, and again, you know how this business works. One of the guys that always gets mentioned, obviously you're one of those coaches that's out there. Barry Trotz's name has been out there a lot. He's let it be known that he'd be interested in coaching an Original Six team. I think a lot of people assume that it's the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I also wonder about the New York Rangers if they don't really get things going. Do you think Barry Trotz will be back behind a bench this season?
A great question. Well, this summer was funny because I was one of those guys, the veteran guys on the sidelines looking for if there was a right opportunity, and nobody was making a move. Barry Trotz, his name was still available. If you look at all the teams, his name was everywhere. And then when he basically said that, I'm not going to coach here, the dominoes, kind of went down and everybody started getting jobs. So that's a good one, Craig. I think around Christmas time, there's some teams there's a couple teams out there that if their expectations aren't being met, I could see somebody throwing a pile of money at them and bringing them in. I don't think Barry Trotz is a guy that can sit in the sidelines too long. I don't know him very well. I know him a little bit. But he seems to me he's a guy that can't just go play golf and do nothing all day. I think he's a hockey guy, and I think with Barry, I think he wants to coach, but I also think he wants to be in management when he's done. So it might be a dual thing where, hey, when he's done coaching, he wants to transfer into in management role. So I could see a franchise giving him the keys to the franchise for sure.
All right, I want to ask you. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Your predictions: Final Four, 2 from the West, 2 from the East. Who are the final 4 teams standing going to be?
Oh,
Great. Yeah, that's and it changes every 2 weeks, but I think Colorado's got to be there again. I just like the last 2 weeks they've started playing well again. I still think Joe Sakic got something up his sleeve where he's going to make a move. Um, I could see that. There's so like the Dallases and Vegas have got me thinking again. Hey man, they're do you want can they get in the playoffs and be a Final Four team? Yeah, they're built that way. Great goal. I know Dallas, great goaltending. They got some veteran players. They got some good young players. And Vegas, like I said, I could see Vegas being in there. I really do. Um, it's something. Minnesota's kind of went down a little bit. St. Louis has gone down. So there's some teams vying for those positions. And Edmonton is a team, like I said, it should be a Final Four team. They haven't proved it yet. But when you get McDavid and Draisaitl, ungodly numbers every night, they're going to score. It's hard for them not to be there. In the East, it's the same. Can Boston still keep going? I mean, yeah. I mean, Boston can still be there. Is Tampa? Will they be? I think Tampa's going to be a seventh or sixth seed. I don't think there'll be a top seed. But I think once they get in, you never know when you get that kind of goaltending. And I'm a little surprised by the Rangers. I thought they would take a bigger step, especially with Shesterkin and what they went through last year. But like I said, it's a small sample size.
Okay, Tuck, we're going in a completely different direction now. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want to put yourself in a room. You're at a team meal right now as a player. You're in a room with Jeremy Roenick, Keith Tkachuk, yourself, and you hear this noise. And then I want you to tell me what happened. This is a test. You hear this noise in a meeting room.
Well, I'm looking at my shoes right now.
So what are you doing right now if you hear that in a meal room with Tkachuk and Roenick in it?
I'm looking at my shoes. Somebody's putting ketchup. Somebody's going to have ketchup on their shoes. They're brand new Ferragamos. They hide underneath the buffet table, and when guys are getting food, a Jeremy Roenick is dumping sour cream and ketchup on your shoes.
Yeah, and now that's a real thing that happened. You have NHL players crawling around on the floor to deface someone's shoes. That is a real thing. And today's guys, not only do they not know it, never heard of it. I've asked new players; they have no idea. What's a shoe check? Nobody knows. And everybody starts yelling, shoe check. And you're going, I've been in those rooms praying to God. Well, of course it wasn't me. Who the hell would have done anything to me? Didn't know I was even in the room. So that brings up the next thing, Talk. So now, put you really on the spot. So those are the things that kind of happened on the road with the team. We have a bit here that we call Tales from the Road, the prank edition. So I want you to think of a time when either you pulled a prank on another player or you had a prank pulled on you. Give us something, a little insight on the road of something you guys did to have fun when you traveled.
Yeah, guys used to get the key early, go in your closet, and then when you go to put your stuff in, jump out, scare you. Those were always things like that. The Saran wrap over the toilet, that's a big one. Back in the day, you can't see it. You sit down and it's just clear. That's what we used to do. I hate to tell you, that was a big one. And the room service, remember, some hotels still have it where you can put your breakfast in the morning. You just have it on your door, and then they'll bring room service to you. Well, we'd order $200, eggs Benedict, pancakes. We'd order $200 worth of stuff at 8:00 in the morning, and then all of a sudden the poor guy, there's a knock on the room service, and the guy's got 7 trays outside your door. That was one of them. Yeah, you're right. Nobody does that anymore. I don't know why, but we used to do that constantly. Those kind of pranks all the time.
Yeah, it used to be a thing, and this is true. I remember when I first started traveling, I was young and immature, but you get on a plane, and I was terrified to fall asleep. Like I wouldn't fall asleep on a plane. And you got to think of the jokesters and Talk is part of that, and Tkachuk and Roenick, and that's guys. Like if you fell asleep, someone would cut your tie in half. I'm not kidding. You do that today with a player that spent $500 on a tie, he might call his lawyer and sue you. Or he's definitely going to call his mom and cry. Like it's not the same game anymore. Agents would be on the phone to the managers. Oh, my guy got his tie cut. You just can't do that anymore to today's players. So I appreciate you sharing the stories, Talk.
Yeah. Well, real quick, when I was in Pittsburgh, we won like 15 in a row, and I fell asleep, and I had my shoes off, and Ol Samuelson took them from me. And I didn't know it was him, and I was mad. I was telling, "Where's my shoes?" We had to get off the plane, and we had to. And back then, it was a commercial flight, so I'm walking
through the airport,
Pittsburgh Airport, with the socks on, and I finally found somebody ratted Alfie out. I grabbed them. We were wrestling in the airport. Scotty Bowman walked by us as we're wrestling, and I'm mad because I want my shoes. And he just shook his head and kept going. And that's the stuff we used to do. It was pretty. Scotty Bowman.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome. Well, we can't thank you enough for joining us, and hopefully we'll chat with you again soon. When you come down to Mullet, let us know, and maybe we can get you in studio for a show or something like that. So we really appreciate your time.
So I asked Petey for tickets then, right?
Yeah, I'm the ticket guy. You know me, connections hooked up there, Talk. Great having you, Talk. Thanks for the stories. Always a lot of fun. Travel safe. I know you're a busy guy in the plane, so be safe.
Thanks, guys. Great show. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Talk.
Thanks so much. All right. Well, thank you again to Rick Tocchet for joining the show. Great to hear that he watches us too, because we watch him every week on TNT. It's been really great, and he talked a lot about the Vegas Golden Knights and how they've been having a really good start to the season so far. Of course, the Coyotes take on Vegas this Thursday. I don't know if I'm putting my money on the Coyotes in this one, maybe some player props instead. But Vegas has just been really hot. If you want to win some money on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, either on that game or there's NFL Monday Night Football tonight, there's basketball, football, all of that, check out the DraftKings Sportsbook app. And right now, new customers can make any $5 NBA moneyline bet and get $200 if your team wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook. Use that code PHNX. That's code PHNX on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See the show notes for details. And also, Petey, it was a stressful day for you yesterday.
Yeah.
Did you try some OGs before bed?
I should have. I don't know. We talked about Sean and I watching that Viking Bills game. I needed to just...
Oh, Sean needed some OGs.
We needed some OGs.
Holy moly.
Kind of set the mood after that tilt.
Yeah, if you haven't tried OGs yet, try them. Not only are they great, but amazing flavors as well. They have orange creamsicle, pina colada. They make you feel real nice. I know Sean loves them. We're just, now that they're a new partner on our show, we're just getting to know them as well. They're scratch made. Everything, they're just phenomenal. So check it out. You can find them at your local dispensary. You must be 21 and older to enjoy. But try out OGs. It'll help us get through this long Coyote season. But anyway, back to Rick Tocchet. Thank you again to him. Any standouts from him on the things that he said just about either the league or the Coyotes?
It is. One thing with Coach Tocchet is I think he's starting to shift to the media guy. I can start to see it. Last year, I think he was still head coach Rick Tocchet on TV. Now he's a TV guy. Like I think he's truly an analyst, because you saw how he was able to respond and know about all the things going around with all the teams. I think he's doing a great job. That was a lot of fun, as always.
I like the fact that he brought up the early leads, the leads that are getting blown around the league this year. I've wondered about that too. Was just talking about that actually with a couple writers last night at MSG. Yes, I was at MSG last night. But it is part and parcel, I think, of a more offensive league, but you still have to have situational awareness. You need to know when you can make that play and when you can't make it. Even a play like Juuso Välimäki made last night, where he's throwing the puck out in front of the net. It's a scoreless game at that point, right? I get you're trying to find Dylan Guenther, but that's probably not the play. Make the safe play up the wall. You don't make those high risk plays in certain situations. I wonder if that's a product of the shift in the style of NHL, or if we're just going to see that curtail as the season wears on and teams dial it in a bit more.
Yeah, as games become more important, I think you're going to see the structure creep into the teams that have it, and I think there are teams that don't have it, and I think that's where the cream will rise to the top again, because the teams that can defend and can play smart situational hockey are the teams that are going to succeed.
Yeah.
One other thing that I was thinking about when he was talking about Colorado and Joe Sakic possibly having something up his sleeve, there's a lot of talk about them needing a second line center now that Nazem Kadri's moved on to Calgary. And there's a lot of talk that Jonathan Toews could be that guy. It's a big cap hit, but his salary isn't unmanageable. Here's another guy, and it would be crazy since he was there at one point, that I think about a lot. If St. Louis continues to struggle, Ryan O'Reilly's a free agent at the end of this year.
Wow.
Ryan O'Reilly is an unbelievable player to put in that slot with all of his experience and capabilities. I think I know his cap hit's lower than Jonathan Toews by about $3 million, but aside from that, pretty much all of his salary was paid in signing bonus this year. I think his salary for the remainder of the year is $1 million. So that's another name to watch if St. Louis continues to struggle. Man, that would be an unbelievable player for the Avs to bring back for another cup run.
Wow. All right. I love it. We'll start the rumor mill here on this show. And speaking of rumors, we have cleared some up, Craig, and you mentioned this in the interview with Tocchet, but that's some injury updates, especially on Jakob Chychrun, who we've talked a lot about in terms of a possible trade bait. Jakob Chychrun will be back November 21st.
Yeah, and so will Nick Schmaltz. So both of those players will be back. This is what Bill Armstrong told me. They're going to be back the same game. That's when they start after Vegas, the next segment of this 14-game road trip in Nashville. Both of those players are expected to play. That's a little bit ahead of the timeline for Nick Schmaltz, who was supposed to be out 6 to 8 weeks. It'll actually be 5.5, but he's going to be back in. Chychrun's supposed to debut. He hasn't played since March, so those are two pretty key players coming back into the lineup. We'll see what they can bring. I'm guessing that Schmaltz is going to play with Clayton Keller, who seems to be doing just fine without Nick Schmaltz right now. But those are two key players. On the other hand, Zach Kassian, it looks like, is going to be out till the end of this month or even into early December. I expect him to go on IR soon when they need to make a roster move.
And that Roaring Fork said it already, but with the news on Muzzin, Chychrun to Toronto plot thickens, just another one to stir the pot. But
he's got to play. He's got to play.
And that's what Tocchet said, too.
But say that, though, Craig. If he plays in a week and he's playing in Nashville, they play a lot of games and a lot of nights on that road trip. Honestly, it might not take long. Like, if he can rack up a few points, play steady minutes, and get his minutes 18 to 20 minutes, like Talk said, it honestly might not take long. Teams are starting to need defensemen. And the higher the need, the higher the price. We'll see.
Yeah. It is interesting to hear his take, though, on the asking price being high and kind of getting that sense throughout the league. But I wonder if, and maybe you know this, Craig, if Bill Armstrong is going to budge, or it's a wait and see game right now, and we just have to see how he plays.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. And that's also why I don't think it's a small sample before teams will decide. I think Jakob Chychrun's got to play a good chunk of games for teams to want to commit to him and get a sense of who he is. I see it more like he's got to play about 20 games before people get a feel for what he is. But yeah, that will drive the price. He's got to show that he can be that guy again that we saw 2 seasons ago, a guy that was in the Norris Trophy conversation because he had 18 goals and led the league by defensemen. He obviously didn't do that last year. He hasn't played in a long time, so he's got some splaining to do.
Yeah, well, that'll be. I can't believe that's just over a week away now, 1 week away from him and Schmaltz getting back in the lineup. So that'll be great to see. And, we mentioned last week, I think, that Connor Timmins is down in Tucson for a conditioning stint. So, nice to kind of see these players get back in the lineup. We'll see how that shifts things up with the big club. But especially someone like Chychrun, we've been following this all summer long, into now. So just to see him on the ice and evaluate his play on the ice will be very good to see. And if he's back on the 21st, that means he should, fingers crossed, no more injuries, be at Mullet on the ice at Mullet for the first time on December 9th when the Coyotes finally make their long-awaited return to Mullet. But in the meantime, there's plenty of other live sporting events you can go to. And when you go, check out the Game Time app to buy your tickets. You can save up to 60% on tickets when you buy them last minute, including ASU hockey. We've said again, are coming, not this coming weekend, but the week after next. Minnesota's coming to town. Logan Cooley. You can get those tickets now on Game Time or wait till the day of the game to get the best deal possible. There's also Suns games and Cardinals games and all of that. But as soon as the Coyotes are back, to buy your tickets on Game Time. And Kirsten mentioned this on the show with us last week, which I didn't even know. You can buy parking passes for games on Game Time as well. And I've seen, in some of the Coyotes Facebook groups, like, where do I park? What's the best way to park? Just let Game Time show you what to do, and just do it all in one, make it easier for yourself. So 60% on tickets when you buy last minute. Best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in our description. And I hope that when Chychrun comes back, he does well. I'm gonna think that he's gonna be motivated. I would hope. So when he's back in the lineup, I am going to pick the higher on Underdog Fantasy when I'm doing the Pick'em game. I'll take Chychrun higher in shots,
points above 0.5 points.
Just you know what, I'm all in. Let's do it. And Schmaltz too. Maybe after a couple games when they get their feet under them, but I'm all in on it. I love playing the Pick'em game on Underdog. So does Petey. We also do daily fantasy where you can just do daily drafts for certain NHL slates
segments.
It's really fun and it's so easy. It takes 2 minutes. You just send the link to your friends. You can do a 2-person, 3-person, 6-person. So you can do it with your friends or with strangers on Underdog. Seriously, it's so much fun. We have loved using it, and I just love the Pick'em game because I like picking between 2 things instead of between 1,000 things. That's why I love Underdog. So be sure to sign up if you haven't already. Use the promo code PHNX, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. So when you sign up with the code PHNX, make sure you're depositing your money right away so they can match that with that offer right now. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code PHNX, and get in on the action today. One more thing I want to bring up, another thing we touched on with Tocchet, another thing that was in Craig's 5 takeaways today, that the idea of that outdoor game. That's kind of been the buzz here at the office too. I was talking to Espo about it in the elevator, the idea of where it can be. Craig, I'm all on board, and I like that you were kind of pushing the ASU narrative to the NHL guys.
So this encounter with Steve Mayer at the NHL offices was not planned. I was getting a tour from, thank you to John Delapina. I already thanked him, and I got a chance to sit in Bill Daly's office and chat for a while. Gary avoided me. He went to Florida. We've already talked about that. But Steve Mayer was just walking through the hallway, and we just got talking about outdoor games because they have this massive screen that shows scenes of just sort of iconic moments in NHL history, whether it's teams winning cups or outdoor games. And I asked him about it. I was like, yeah, you're probably going to tell me, yeah, get an arena first. And he says, no. He said, look at how many teams still haven't played. I'm like, I'm perfectly aware that it's just 4 teams, including the 2-year-old Seattle Kraken, that haven't played in an outdoor game. And he's like, yeah, but what was it 5 years ago? And that was his point. We're checking the boxes. We're very aware of the fact that there are some teams that still haven't done it. We want everyone to participate. And as he said, while the luster may be off from a national audience or international, he said when we go to these communities, it's a huge hit. Like the game in Carolina this year at NC State, he said it sold out in seconds. It's a massive deal down there. And he said it'll be the same thing in Arizona. With the teams that are left, Florida, Seattle, Columbus, and the Coyotes, I would imagine that Florida and Columbus are probably going to get it first. They probably want the Coyotes to be a little better on the ice too. But
fair.
I pressed my luck and said, so I'm going to ask this, and I know you're not going to answer it, but what's the timeline? He goes, no, I'll answer it. You should expect it within 5 years.
Wow.
So wow. An outdoor game in Arizona within 5 years. How cool will that be, guys?
Very cool.
Well, you mentioned ASU, you mentioned Chase Field. Espo earlier in the chat mentioned the 16th hole at the Waste Management
There you go.
Open.
Wow.
Build the grandstands.
Love it. That's not a bad idea. There you go. The 16th. Love it.
Make it unique, why not?
Listen, it's got to be Sun Devil Stadium, right?
I know.
It's Tempe. It's the association with ASU. It's the most iconic venue. I know Talk mentioned State Farm, but do you think that the NHL really wants to
go to Glendale?
Helps Glendale? I don't.
Yeah. I don't know. But ASU, not only does it work because the stadium's iconic, it's surrounded by the mountains. It's the stadium setup itself. It's a great setup in that regard, but also just in terms of fostering this relationship with the city of Tempe. ASU has done so much for the Coyotes, and the Coyotes are developing that partnership with Tempe. I feel like this would be the perfect kind of event to bring that economic boost to the city of Tempe and put the city of Tempe on a national stage, and everyone can see how beautiful it is. And I don't know, if I'm a player watching that saying, oh, that looks like a pretty nice city to live in and play in.
The visuals of that and the drone shots and the balloon shots of that against the mountains, absolutely breathtaking. I'm in. Let's go. I don't know how the hell we're going to do it when it's 85, but let's go.
It gets chilly.
I mean, in January, it's chillier here. Yeah.
I mean, I got long sleeves on again
today.
today.
You were complaining last night in your own house.
Yeah, it was cold.
I know they like to do it during the day, but then the NHL is always surprised that the sun is out. There's actually sunshine.
The sun melts ice.
Be aware that there's sunshine in Arizona. So how about a later start in January? How about a night game at Sun Devil Stadium?
All in.
Would that? Well, or maybe like dusk, so you could get the amazing Arizona sunsets, right? Work that into it. But then again, this location is just perfect. So let's recap what the NHL is talking about doing in Arizona. If the Coyotes get this arena, they've already been promised an all-star game, a draft in June or July. Wow, I have no idea how it's working. And now an outdoor game. How cool. 3 unbelievable events involving the NHL in the Valley within, probably the next 5-6 years.
And I like that Sterling said they always have a band play. How about Jimmy Eat World?
There we go.
And then Jimmy Eat World will
Awesomes, figure it out. Like,
they'll transfer their good vibes because their songs create wins. It's just facts.
That's true.
So I love this.
Truth.
Sign us up. This is why Gary was avoiding Craig, because we just have our lists of ideas to throw at him. But I love it. I'm excited. It's exciting to think about things like that in the future. And I could just see it now. You got all the concessions at Sun Devil Stadium, and it's just Four Peaks beer on tap. That's
it should be.
As it should be.
Yep.
Drinking our Four Peaks, and it'll be chilly, but not so chilly that I can't hold a beer in a koozie at an outdoor game in January in Arizona. I'm all in. I just can see it now. Holding my Four Peaks at Sun Devil Stadium, watching the Coyotes play.
Outdoor game is kilt lifter for sure.
Question mark?
Outdoor game is got to be kilt lifter.
Kilt lifter? How about
it's a little hardier.
I'm a golden lager.
Golden lager? I was thinking of an outdoor game like when it's really cold, but I guess it won't be. It'll be like beautiful.
It'll be like 60.
So golden lager, you still do a wow then.
Yeah.
That's that desert day drinker. Yeah,
desert day drinker. That would be good.
If it's a day game,
yeah, love it.
I want a dusk game. I want a sunset game. I think that's the way to go here.
Maybe a hazy then.
Maybe a hazy.
The hazy bottle looks like an Arizona sunset. So in the meantime, enjoy Four Peaks. You can grab them wherever you buy your beer. You can also head on down to the A Street Pub, where Four Peaks will be hosting all U.S. and Mexico World Cup matches with beer specials, giveaways, guest appearances, and more. $3 Kilt Lifter and Wowie pints. It's less than 2 weeks away. Check the link in our show notes to register for free. Cannot wait for the World Cup. I love all the sports all at once. And Craig, we talked about his 5 takeaways. We've noted a couple things from it already. Check that out on gophnx.com. I saw, Craig, you were posting it in the Discord at like 1:15 in the morning. Poor Craig has literally not slept at all. So thank you, Craig, for powering through this one and being here with us. But check that out. gophnx.com. Become a member. And you can join our members only Discord as well and see that Craig is posting his story at 1:15 a.m. But also lots of great perks to becoming a member, and more to come on that soon. So great time to become a member. And also you'll want to grab some gear from the PHNX locker as well, with the holidays right around the corner. Head to phnxlocker.com to give the gift of some sweet merch, and the link to get there is in our description below. You can find everything you need on every time in our description. Any final thoughts from today? Talk it. Going forward into the rest of the week, or
no? We got to take a deep breath before we get back on.
I know. So do the
Coyotes.
Trip. It's kind of. I feel like we all needed this.
Craig, are you getting back on the plane, or what are you doing Thursday?
No, buddy, I'm staying home. Home. I'm writing. In fact, the one story that I wanted to mention is a playoff of the. I toured the league offices.
Playoffs.
For some reason, I hadn't done that in the quarter century I've covered this league, so I decided to do it in New York, and I'm gonna have a story on that later this week. So
awesome.
That was they are amazing, by the way. The offices are just amazing.
I remember one time. Is it still on the Avenue of Americas, or is it a different building?
It's close. It's in what's called West Manhattan, or Manhattan West. It's right by Hudson Yards, actually, where the Equinox is, really close to MSG.
This may surprise you. I was walking down on the Avenue of Americas when it was there with our old travel guy, Rick Bronstein, and we walked by it on a day off, and we're walking by the offices, and we go, "Oh, there's the offices. Do you want to go in?" I'm like, "Eh." And we just kept walking.
That was such a good story.
Yeah, just said no.
Let's been in this office a little over a year, so it's impressive. It really is. It's like 3 or 4 stories. They have like 3 or 4
Glad
floors.
you went, and I don't have to check it off my list now. I'll read your article. I don't have to go. Perfect.
All right. Well, thank you again to Rick Tocchet for joining us. Always great to hear from him. We'll be back on Wednesday with an audio episode, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We have just audio-only episodes, so either Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast, subscribe, leave us a review. Also follow PHNX Sports across all social platforms, including PHNX Sports on YouTube. Be sure to be subscribed there so you never miss any of our shows when we go live. And we'll be live late night, PHNX Coyotes After Dark, for that game against the Vegas Golden Knights. And until then, Craig, I hope you get some sleep today. I hope you nap, take a beat, and we'll regroup a little later this week. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, for commenting in the chat, and enjoy the rest of your Monday, everybody. You can follow us on Twitter at @SPetersHockey, at Craig S. Morgan, at Leah Merrill, at Sean_DePaz, and of course, at PHNX_Coyotes on Twitter. Everyone, have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you later this week.